What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Billy G Games back with another deck profile, and I'm here with
Leo.
What you do, Leo?
Oh man, you know I went undefeated with Branded.
Branded right now?
Branded, baby. Yeah, all those tier mirrors. Clap them.
No, okay. Let's see what you got cooking over here, brother. All right, let's go.
All right, listen, y'all. This is crazy. This is probably. I'm gonna be honest. I've been playing Branded for like, I don't know, since when the structure deck released. March.
Yeah, right.
I played Branded almost exclusively as my primary deck since then. Won a bunch of regionals. Almost got day 2 at Nats. Damn you, Dragons. But did a bunch of good stuff with it. I think this list is the best Branded list that has ever existed yet. It's more consistent. It does more things. It sets up a better board. I can do just a quick little thing at the end to kind of show you kind of the boards that you're setting up.
All right, let's do it.
It does play in a nib. Thank God there ain't no nib. All right, so let's start it off. You need 3. This dude, essentially, we all know what he does, right? He's a walking super poly. He discards a card. So many subtle interactions come up with Fallen of Albaz that I think a lot of players who are new just miss out on. You know, we play Branded in red. We play a lot of other cards, right? So this card, sometimes you'd never expect it to go through. You just want to use it as bait. The fact that it pitches for cost is really important. Because sometimes you pitch a Despia name, you pitch another Fallen, you pitch something, right? And you have a Branded red in hand. They're going to interact with this Fallen of Albaz in any way they can to stop it. You play without Branded Fusion by playing 3 Albaz. Because you draw Branded red and then they go try to stop your Albaz. You're like, okay, but you pitched a Despia for cost. So now you grab the Despia, you fuse, right? You make what you need. Albaz he's mandatory at 3. People try and tell me you could play 2 or 1, but they're capping. All right, then we start off around here. We got our main boy. He's the Searcher. Everybody knows what he does. He Stratos for the deck, except for his second effect is not to pop a back row, but to negate a monster from grave. Both of his effects are really good. His first effect, obviously everyone knows, you search a Branded spell a trap. His second effect, coming back and negating a monster's effect on the field, while not always the craziest thing, can often lead you to being into a point where you can play the game next turn. The interaction between having Masquerade come back and then having this come back, it pretty much invalidates access code. Okay, they go pop your whole board. It really doesn't matter because you're going to bring your Masquerade back and then you're going to bring this dude back to negate the access code. Next turn, you're dealing with a little boy instead of a big boy. Really good card. We got probably what I consider to be the real Searcher of the deck, Tragedy. So many ways in this deck to get this card into grave that it's crazy. I mean, you play Branded Fusion, you play Opening, you play Theater, you play the Bystials. So if this thing gets milled and you dump it, you banish it and you search. This is like the Monster Searcher. It's just really good. I mean, sometimes, crazily enough, this card set with Super Poly is more than enough to deal with a lot of boards. All right, now we're going to more targeting and one-ofs. So I'll talk a little bit about this card when we get there. We got Albion the Shrouded. This little package of 3 cards comes up insanely much this format. So with running main deck Bystials and Branded, which I am, you're going to find out, you find that this card right here becomes another really important searcher. So this card can search this card, it can search this card, and it can search Fallen of Albaz. It can also just swing games for you because what ends up happening is if this card gets banished, right, Branded in red, a Bystial, many different ways, then what it does is it searches Cartesia. And Cartesia is really crazy in this deck. She allows you to make either double Masquerade, Masquerade Quertus, Masquerade plus Perskinian. You're getting 2 fusion monsters off this one card nearly every play. And it's really strong. Now, the reason this card is more important than it's ever been before is because it is an upstart in your hand. But right now, when Tears mills you, you use this card in Grave's name as Fallen of Albaz, and it lets you special Branded Cartesia. Branded Cartesia specials herself whenever there's a Fallen of Albaz in Grave. So she's really been actually swinging and winning whole games by herself. She's pretty crazy, and I think next format she might even get upped. I might play more of her just because of how strong she is. All right. Then we go here to some more, I think, one-ofs. Oh, no, not quite a one-off. So here we got some just Despia stuff, tech cards. We got Dramaturge. He's a huge body. He helps you clear boards. He helps you set up a board that, like, in this format, essentially, you know you're probably going to be running up against Kit Kalos, right? And Kit Kalos, Dramaturge just, like, invalidates Kit Kalos. Because if they're turn player and they summon Kit Kalos, or they summon it on your turn and you've already established Dramaturge, Drama targetedly negates. So unless they have a Mud Dragon that's already called Dark, when the kit comes out, you just target and negate it. Now that kit can no longer use its effect to, you know, tag and like mill. It can just get the search if it's on your turn, and it gets nothing if it's on your opponent's turn. Adlib's just really crazy. Bringing back any level 8 or higher fusion or Despia monster from the grave uses fusion. A lot of times you'll use it with like Poly and just bring something back, and then you even bring back a Luber and search in the same turn. I mean, it's just a great card. Lubellion. I wish I could play 3 Lubellion. Lubellion is really, really strong. I think in this format, if I open him going first, I just feel great, right? Because I know if I'm going against Tears, I have an interruption right there. I'm going to go search and interruption, likely Magnamut. It can be other things just depending on the hand. But this card is just really strong. The fact that he comes back from grave, like every turn, forces your opponent to use Mudora and Keldo. Mudora and Keldo are the hardest things to deal with for Branded this format, because almost your whole deck works on like end phase effects, right? And so they just quick effect, shuffle all this stuff back, it can't trigger an end phase. But he's really good. He activates cards from the deck that are really impactful, and in this deck he activates a card at the end. I'll bring it up. We'll put him to the side here for now. Okay. All right, then we got the Bystials.
Oh my god.
We play all 9.
Okay.
Play all 9. They are very, very strong. They are really good cards. There is no reason not to play all 9 in Branded. They all do something. They all help you combo. If you open them and you're thinking, oh shit, I'm not playing Tears, it really does not matter. This deck goes so gas because of these cards, because what you do is you use any Bystial name and you banish Mercurier. When you banish Mercurier, you search Cartesia. And then Cartesia becomes live to start fusing immediately. You no longer have to worry about, do I have Branded Fusion? Do I have like Branded and Red? Did I hard open a fusion? Most of the time, you're getting to search a Poly. And this Poly works on your turn and again on your opponent's turn. So you get to do a lot of fusions. These cards enable that. Saronir is really good. Saronir kind of helps you a lot because if you have just Lubellion, or you have no Lubellion, and you go Saronir, you can actually use Saronir to dump the Lubellion, and then use the Lubellion effect on field tributing a dragon. So he comes up a lot too in this deck. I think they're pretty mandatory all at 3. Let's go to the next cards. Branded Fusion, Branded Opening, and Branded Red. There's a surprise card here. So these cards are just mandatory. Sure. This card's an E-Telly for Despias, discarding for cost, really strong. You can add the card to hand. That comes up sometimes. Like, for instance, let's say you're under a special summon lock for a Morphages or something. I saw Dragon Link do that to me once. So you can still add the card to hand. You can still activate this. You're not like completely whiffed out. Branded Fusion, just really crazy. A lot of times now, you can send so many different targets in the deck, just depending on your combo. I mean, sometimes right now, you're literally sending for no advantage. You will just send Mercurier and Albaz to make Lubellion, and use one of the Bystials in your hand to banish the Mercurier, so you get more Polys. So there's just a lot of new lines that are coming up. This card is really impactful and obviously really strong. I mean, it's probably the best top deck in the game in simplified game state. All right, we have Branded in Red. This card is really hard right now for me because Bystials both turn this off, and also the Mudora and Keldo turn this off. So it does feel like a much weaker card than it used to be because there is just so much main deck hatred to it. But I mean, you know, hey, Guardian Chimera, making Masquerades, whatever you need, this card is really good. It's just another Poly, and I kind of look at it like that now, instead of being like more of a staple. Now I played this card, Branded in White. So This card says that you can fusion summon a dragon monster, like from your hand or field or grave if you have a Fallen of Albaz in the grave. So the reason I'm playing this right now is because right now sometimes tier elements will just mill you. They'll just say, okay, Kelbag and Akito, we'll just mill 10. So if you mill 10 with this card in your hand and there's a Fallen of Albaz in there, really sneakily you can make Mirror Jade sometimes and they don't have a way to answer it. So they likely will, if they have Lucalos or Baron, let's say one or the other, not both, obviously if they have both you're screwed. But if they have one or the other and you open this, right, and you already have the Albaz in grave, well, you can banish Albaz and Tragedy with Branded and White from grave to start playing, and then you're getting a Mirror Jade. So they'll negate the Branded Fusion, and then this card is in grave. It goes from grave, so it just works really well. Its second effect never comes up, but it could. It sets itself if it's used as the discard for Fallen of Albaz's effect. I don't think it's ever come up, but if it does, I'll let you guys know. Then we got the I would call more tech cards, like just more like really good, strong engine cards that are all have different uses. You got Theater of the Branded. Theater of the Branded is just another polymerization that you can search. In this deck, like I said, Cartesia is like your main poly, so you don't really search this that much. But if you do see this in Despia monsters, you're just feeling great. So it's not a really big deal. I will say this. We'll come back to this card. This little package is really, really strong. Quick effect pop plus bringing back a Bystial every turn from grave. This forces Keldo and Medora. So you use this to pop, and then this gets this in the end phase if it's in the grave. So your general line is to go Lubellion, search Saronir, Saronir special, use Lubellion to activate Beast. So Lubellion special from grave, activate Beast, and then Saronir to pitch regain. So then in the end phase, you get both of these, and then you set up like essentially a little kind of game with your opponent. So you're going to get back the Bisted, like probably a Magnamud or a Saronir or Druisworm, whatever you want from your grave, and then you'll be able to pop quick effect after that, even with that, because you still have belly on it. Really, really strong cards. They come up a lot. I think this card is like so mandatory in Despia because we just lose to Mystic Mine, and this card says you will never lose to Mystic Mine again. So just really good. I like the draw on this card too. It comes up a lot. Sometimes I Bystial a tier, my opponent's tier, and I put that tier back, but I draw a card. And to another Bystial, it's kind of crazy. This card. This is the best card in the deck. I wish I could play more of this card. This card is so good. It literally breaks boards. It wins games. This card alone wins most games. This card plus Super Poly, this card plus Cartesia, this card plus Branded and Red. This card, if you open it in your turn one, you're very likely just going to win the game. There's very few times where your opponent can play through the Lost, because what the Lost enables is for you to activate Super Poly, and they cannot trigger tier names. So let's say they have Shiren and Kalos on the field, and you have Lost set and you have Super Poly. Well, you go Super Poly, and then you Super Poly those two for, I don't know, Garua, whatever you want. Like, whatever fusion you need. If you're scared of them trigger in the grave, no longer. Because now this card says they cannot trigger. It's very strong. It helps you just break boards. So if they don't have a way to stop Branded Fusion, and you go Lost, Branded Fusion, then you make Albion, and then you make whatever you want, and then you make Mirror Jade, and Mirror Jade cannot be responded to. So you can take away a really hard threat on your opponent's board without them being able to do anything. This card just wins games. Other times it's come up is you just go Lost, special Cartesia, use Cartesia's effect to make Quertus. Quertus' effect to zero out your opponent's board, if you're not playing against specifically tiers, is almost always going to win you the game. There's really no way for your opponent to stop when all their monsters are 0 and you just come in with like 425 bodies, right, and just beat over them. Sometimes Sprite can deal with it, but generally it's not something even Sprite can deal with that often. So Lost is the best card in the deck right now. I wish I could play more. We have Goldsark, Called By. Called By is obvious. I mean, if there is still someone out there, playing Ash Blossom, I would love to see this in the same hand because Branded Fusion is really nice to resolve. So, and then Gold Sark in this deck is kind of cool because remember I was saying Cartesia is like the main. So in this deck, if let's say you don't open Cartesia or away to Cartesia and you want to find Cartesia, then you just banish Mercurier. And if you don't open a way to a Despia, you just banish Tragedy. So you have two really strong targets, and both of them can get you to different lines of play, just depending on what you see. It's just a really strong and flexible engine and deck. All right, and then we'll go to our last card. I mean, this card I think is just going to be mandatory in Despia forever. One really cool thing about Super Poly and Despia is if your opponent makes a light or a dark at all, it just invalidates it. Because you can almost always Super Poly a light or a dark away in this deck. The Despia Fusions, Fallen of Albaz, so many different things just allow you to like use this card so much more effectively than any other deck that it's almost free. It's really crazy strong card. And I think everyone knows. People are trying to tell me it's going to get banned.
Sure.
All right. Now let's go off here with the extra deck. We have Garua. Oh, it's not sorted. Maybe not. Predaplant and Starving Venom. So these cards are pretty crazy. This card is a great Super Poly target against Sprite. Pretty much the only reason I play it. It can come up in other matches, but it's mostly just there for Sprite because dealing with Triple Toad is harder than it. It's just really a difficult board in general. So you put it in Garua. Predaplant, also really good against Sprite, but generally made a little less. It's really, really strong card. It just comes up sometimes, and, you'd love to have it. You don't want to be facing down a board that you wanted this and you didn't have it. Starving Venom. Starving Venom is just insane. Two darks, it really does hit tiers well. And the same interaction I talked about earlier with Lost, if I have just Super Poly Lost, and they don't out my Super Poly or my Lost early enough, and they just start playing, they almost will always play into Starving Venom. The Kit Kalos line to make the Elf will, the Shiren, if they start with Shiren, it almost always will. So you're seeing this card a lot, and this card is really strong. His effect when he gets destroyed just comes up and it wipes their board, so he's a good card. All right, let's go to what I will call the Despia Fusions. So you have these cards and Guardian Chimera. So Guardian Chimera, I think right now you cut them to 1 because it's just so rare that your Branded Red's going to get to resolve. You're almost using Branded Red as bait. I mean, if it does resolve, you're very happy, but it just doesn't come up. So the power play of going like Guardian Chimera and drawing and popping, it's just not that crazy, and it's really not that great into tiers. Only in simplified game state where they're pretty much down to like Planet and maybe like Celiac or something, like, and they've already used the Celiac. It doesn't really just come up that much against them. The advantage would be nice to have, but we just don't really do it that much right now, just because of tiers. These cards are all really good. Quertus, like I said, he wins games. He just makes everything 0, and then you just go in for game with anything. Everything in this deck is huge, right? So the Bystials are huge. He's huge. Like, all the extra deck monsters are all 25. So when you go swinging, Quertus is a dude that you want to be there. Proscidian. People cut this card. I don't know why. It's so crazy. It's a Despia plus a light and a dark. Proscidian in a simplified game state is one of the greatest cards in the game, and he's so good into tiers that it's actually crazy that people are not playing this card. What you do is when they go Kaleido or something, engrave, you go clear the board and you just beat over some stuff, and maybe they have Kaleido or something engrave, right? You use this card when they use the effect to bring it back to steal that card, and you get the card. Really, really strong card. The fact that he burns too just adds to the fact that everything's big, and like you don't really have to worry if they have a 3k body up. You just burn over the 3k body. Really strong cards. Masquerade. I wish I could play 5 of this thing. This thing is the craziest card in the game. He makes you pay your taxes, and he doesn't let you get away like with it. He is the government, and he's coming for you. So this fool, I am almost every single time I go first setting up 2 Masquerades. And I don't usually set them up on my turn. So I'm not that badly playing into Dark Ruler. Like, 2 Masquerades is very, very common, and you're almost always going to get 1. So you're going to get 1 live Masquerade literally no matter what they have in their hand. They have to have some crazy combination to stop you from getting 2. And if they have that, that means their hand wasn't that good. So generally this card right now is just insane. He is kind of the win con against Tiers because Tiers don't play any crazy floodgates, and most of them don't play super poly. So you just end on like 2 Masquerades, and then to make their board and to trigger all their grave effects, they're going to have to do at least 4. Almost always. There's never going to be a time where they do less than 4. That gives them 2 more to break through 2 of these. Really, really strong, especially if you can get these up with Mirror Jade, which is pretty common in this deck. And we'll go just for the Albaz fusion. So I'm playing 1 Lenatus, 2 Albion, 2 Lubellion, and 2 Mirror Jades. These cards, I think this ratio right here is like super standard. You can't just play 1 Lubellion. Everyone thinks you can, but if it gets impermed or it gets sullied or it gets stopped, what are you going to do? You're literally just dead in the water. Why would you only want 1? You have to play 2. It's really good. I'll talk about interaction between these 2 in a sec. So 2 of this is really nice. Albion, really strong. The reason you play 2 of him is because he's probably the best send off Mirror Jade. So you get to trigger his effect in the end phase, search for Branded Red, opening, fusion, whatever you need, he just gets it for you. It's really strong. In this deck, you do a lot of comboing with him too. So you'll summon him, leave him on field, use Cartesia to fuse off with him, so he's just really cool. And so you don't have to use your Mirror Jade that turn. Mirror Jade, really great. Probably the best boss. I can't wait till he gets an ulti. He's going to be so sick. And then Lenatus. So I'm playing so many dragons in the main deck, and Lenatus is just insane in this deck sometimes. So I like to compare him to mini Borland. So what he ends up doing for me sometimes, and he did this 4 times in the tournament that I went undefeated, was I will go and have a bunch of Bystials and stuff and all this banished cards, a big huge grave and a big huge pile, right? And I will go into this guy. What this dude allows me to do, right, is to shuffle back monsters from field, grave, or banished, right, to fusion summon any monster. So if I have a Fallen of Albaz and anywhere in that pile and a bunch of Bystials, I can put all the Bystials and all the dragons back into deck and summon him, and he can attack like as many dragons as I put back. So he clears sprite boards himself. I actually did a summon where I put back 13 dragons from banished and grave, summoned him, and attacked over 6 monsters. So I think he's pretty cool, and I think he actually has like in-game application. He used to just be a send. Like you used to just send him because in the end phase he searches for Branded Fusion or Poly. But now he's actually just really cool. I wish there was some way in Despia, like a Kalute for Despia, because if there was, this guy would be broken. Like, or Pixies or something. Like, this fool, if they ever released that, he would make the game really one-sided for us. All right. This is the side deck. I don't think it's very good. I didn't really do a lot of prep with the side decks. I think I need more hatred for Tiers, even though I play, like, a ton of hatred for Tiers. But I think I need even more, because this deck is still an uphill battle. You got to know what you're doing to beat Tiers. But we'll just start off here. Droll. I play Droll because of birds, mostly, and maybe Pendulum and a little bit of Sprite. Like, I noticed that sometimes Sprite just actually has to resolve, like, a bunch of searches. If you Droll them right after they're blue, if they went, like, let's say swap blue or, like, something, right? If they didn't open with legitimately Nimbles, most of the time Droll just actually stops them from doing, like, anything. They'll try and do, like, the elf thing and all that, but, like, one big thing is they're not going to get to Toad. And Toad is really the only thing that can stop you at all from playing. Because this deck is all gas. It just runs and runs and runs, and it doesn't really matter what the opponent has. So this is mostly for Sprite and Birds, but I think it's better probably into Sprite than it is to Birds. D-Shifter is kind of weird. Lightning Storm. Lightning Storm is just for just everything. I mean, sometimes I kind of even want to side it into Tiers, because one of the most screwed up things that Tiers can do right now is set up like Crime Celiac Planet. And it really doesn't even, they don't have to build a board. They can just have like Merly and like Hov in hand. And that board is like, the board's really hard to stop. So Lightning Storm, yeah, it just baits the crime in that situation. But if they don't have crime, like you just Lightning Storm the back row, they get the search off Sulliek or whatever, but at least you don't have to deal with Sulliek. So sometimes I feel like it's good into tiers, but I don't put it in that much. Evenly is really crazy. Evenly feels like probably the best card against tiers. It's also fairly okay against birds. So there's a few matchups where it just feels good. It really fucks up rogue decks, and it's just another good both front and back row hatred card. So I felt like if I showed up here and someone actually just came with Eldritch, which I don't know why they would do that, but if they did, I would have the things I needed. This is the best card against tiers. Sphere Mode. Sphere Mode is insane. Sphere Mode, a lot of tier players will try and play around this, but if you do not normal summon on your turn and you just let them go when they start trying to interact with you, they eventually almost always will play into this at some point. Now, that being said, there are sometimes this conflicts. This isn't the greatest card to go with Despia because a lot of hands you're looking for your main man Aluber, right? So it does conflict and you don't get it. But when it does work, this actually just usually wins you the game because they can't Sulliek if they don't have a tier. It tributes them all for cost so they don't trigger. And they can't crime it. They can't do a lot of stuff. And actually, I've noticed that if tier can't out it on their own turn, let's say it's a super simplified game state, and this thing comes back to me, I almost just win the game, hands down, because they can't out it. Unless they play a goddess or something. And not very many of them are playing goddess. And then I'll go for these 3 one-ofs that I put in. I have Banishment, Harpy's Feather Duster, and Change of Heart. Now, I'll talk a little bit about all 3. Duster is just another really good back row hate. I think it's obvious what it does. It's just really strong. Banishment is a card I wish I could put into main, but it's so bad going second, and it's really bad into the tier deck when they start trying to do the shufflings. Keldo and Mudora just invalidate this card. Bystials invalidate this card. So it's really strong. I wish I could play it, but it's just not mainable in a format with those cards. But it is really strong, so I still put it in the side. And Change of Heart. Change of Heart actually won me 2 games, but I can't say it's really good because what happens with Change of Heart right now is Elf, and Elf targeting protection from Elf changes the way this card is even allowed to be played. If it was the actual old text where it said select and it didn't actually target, it would be insane. It'd probably be one of the best. It'd be in everybody's deck. But the fact that it does target post errata just means that if they go for Elf, which they're generally trying to do, they'll stop you and then you won't be able to do anything because taking Elf isn't that good. So that's the deck. Really good.
Any shout outs? Anything you want to say for closing comments or anything like that? That's really good stuff, actually.
Yeah. I think the Primal Being token says it all with no nib in the deck.
Right.
I just want to let everybody know who likes this deck. It is strong and it's good, and you can play it. But the thing is, you have to really be able to have a good advanced high skill level with the deck. Tiers is a truly uphill battle. I mean, the player doesn't have to be that great to really set something up that you can't deal with. Budora and Keldo especially. Please E-ban. But if those cards, if they don't have those cards and you're playing this deck, you're likely going to win. It really doesn't matter what board they set up. You can almost break every single board that they break, but you can't deal with the grave effects. So that's all I have to say. Brandon's really nice. Pick it up if you want to try it out.
Sure. Any shout outs for that too, and that's it, or
shout outs to all the homies that we tested with from Pasadena. We got Eric, we got Billy, we got Elijah, we got everybody.
Yeah, he is.
Shout outs to Steven and Ramiro.
Yes,
for showing us that the pendulum deck isn't just a fake pile of cards. It's actually pretty crazy. Shout outs to everybody. So
all right.
I hope y'all like it.
All right, appreciate it, brother.
Yep.